Chapter 21. The giant reptilian monster was now entirely out of the river. It must have been 400 feet tall. It moved closer to our building, pausing only occasionally to sniff the air. It opened its mouth. I assumed to let out the trademark Godzilla screech, but no sound came out. It was surprisingly disappointing. "So," I said, "biological retaliation. That's messed up."
"We need to get you out of here,"
Tamrat said. I looked at her. She wanted me to get out of there. Not us. She'd already given up on herself. "There's no time," I said. "That thing's going to bring the building down before we can get to the ground floor. I have another idea."
"I don't even need to hear it to know it's stupid," she said. "My idea's better."
She grabbed me around the waist, and before I could object, ran forward, taking the two of us out the window. Right. She could fly. I had forgotten about that. We were out of the building just as the massive kaiju began to pound its claws against the windows. Glass and dust from crushed concrete rained down on the street below. The monster's head was well below the floor we'd been on, but chunks of building began falling away from the structure like leaves from a dying tree. Meanwhile, I was gritting my teeth, trying to push back the rush of nausea. Flying is great, but being flown, turns out, is terrifying. When we landed on the ground, there was an 8-foot-tall metallic humanoid waiting for us, and it looked unhappy and had its arms crossed. This wasn't the same synthetic containment unit it had found in the hidden fortress. It had either upgraded or the casing was malleable. It was also wearing a business suit that looked really expensive. I didn't care what Smelly looked like, I was just happy to see it.
"Why are you bothering me?"
Smelly asked. I had summoned the AI just before Tamrat grabbed me. That had been my idea, the one Tamrat had said was stupid before she bothered to hear it. I was going to get Smelly to stop the kaiju. At least that had been part of my idea. I had something else in mind, and it was a long shot, but I had to hope I knew Smelly well enough to count on its help. It had lived inside my head for months. It owed me. I gestured with my thumb towards the gigantic skyscraper-destroying monster. "There's something after me." The kaiju took a swipe at the building, sending a corner office careening into the river, trailing office furniture and paperwork like a comet trail.
"That big green thing?" it asked.
"Yes," I said. "That."
"It doesn't seem to be trying to kill you specifically," Smelly said.
Its head was elongated on top, moving to a gentle point, and its facial features were vaguely humanoid, though it was weird its mouth didn't move when it spoke. Maybe it would have been weirder if it did. Also, its eyes glowed red, though they were less creepy than Nora Price's death ray eyes. As soon as it realizes we're not in there, it'll come looking for me," I told Smelly. "You have to do something."
"I can handle the monster,"
Tamrat said.
"Your girlfriend can handle the monster,"
Smelly said. The exposed metal of its hands and face glistened in the sun. It reached up to adjust its tie and buttoned its coat, like it wanted to make sure it fit in with the other business types in Midtown.
"I warned you about bothering me with your trivial matters. How did you tick off a kaiju, anyhow? You have to be the most irritating being who ever lived."
"You are saying that to me. Anyone?"
"I'm not alive in the biological sense," it said. "You can't compare yourself to me."
"Look," I said to it, "Tamrat doesn't know for sure that she's up to taking out something like that."
"Neither do I. Let's find out. Call me if it kills her and comes after you. My terms were specific."
"Come on, Smelly. There are beings in there."
"Fads and fad sympathizers. Don't look surprised. It seems to you that I appeared instantly, but I actually had to travel here. I had time to review your crisis. I also learned the rules of blackjack, so I'm thinking I'll hit Vegas before I head home. And why is there a game called craps? Am I the only one who wonders about these things?"
I looked at the building. Maybe there are bad guys in there. Maybe they're just working for them. Some of those people probably had no choice but to work in security. There must be secretaries in that building, too. And people in the mailroom, maintenance departments, whatever. The fad receptionist doesn't deserve to die. Go stop the monster.
"That's your one cosmic favor. That's the thing you summoned me from across the galaxy to do? Save the office staff?"
"I thought I was trying to save me when I hit the button," I said. "But while you're here, can you also cure Tamrat?" Her eyes widened with surprise.
"Can it do that?" "I was waiting for you to ask."
It folded its arms again.
Why don't you understand that I told you not to summon me unless your death was imminent. Not the phatic janitor, and not your girlfriend's. I'm not your butler. Next thing you know, you'll be asking me to lay out your pajamas before bed.
Another chunk of the building went flying, this time into the street. I had to hope that the people had already cleared out. Smelly, can you do it or not?
Of course I can, it said. I mean, if I want to. I'm amazing, incredible, remarkable. I'll tell you what, Zeke. I hate to have wasted the trip. I can either stop the monster before it rips apart the city, or I can save your girlfriend. You have to choose.
It leveled its electronic gaze at me.
Life isn't fair and it isn't easy. One or the other. Make your choice and live with it.
I glanced over at the monster, pounding on the crumbling building. And then I looked at Tamrat. She was shaking her head, like I had to choose to save everyone but her. It was an impossible decision. How could I decide? How could I live with myself no matter what I chose? It was impossible. I couldn't make that choice, but I also didn't think that I had to.
Don't be a jerk, Smelly.
Do both, and make it snappy, please, I added. Be a pal. It let out an electronic sigh.
Fine. I only wanted to torment you a little first. Here,
it said to Tamrat, holding out a piece of what seemed to be some kind of raw vegetable. It looked like pale yellow broccoli.
I hate broccoli,
Tamrat said.
I know,
said Smelly.
I also know it gives you gas. That's why I chose it, because I'm hilarious. Eat it, and you won't die, but you're going to stink up the place. Later, fools.
Smelly flew off, which I guessed was something it could do. It was headed for the kaiju. Eat the stupid broccoli, Tamrat, I said. She made a face and popped it into her mouth. She chewed a few times, looking visibly disgusted, and swallowed.
I guess I'm not dying now,
she said. Do you know that for sure? I asked. Do you feel any different?
I feel the same,
she said.
But the little countdown clock to my death has disappeared from my HUD.
You had that? She nodded. I hugged her. I didn't know what else to do. I could think of nothing to say. She'd been working to save this planet while her own death had been playing out in front of her eyes. And it hadn't slowed her down. Not for 1 second.
I'm okay now,
she said, hugging me back.
Because of you.
I took a step back. I didn't do anything.
You got that AI to help me. That's something.
All I did was ask.
All over the galaxy there are billions of beings who need help. It gave that help to you, Zeke. There's a reason. You're always worried about what powers or abilities or technology you have, but those aren't the things that make you a hero.
I shook my head. I'm not a hero.
Whatever,
she said.
I meant to say idiot. Those are the things that make you an idiot.
Meanwhile, Smelly obviously had some control over his size and shape of his containment suit, as it had expanded to a 400-foot-tall version of itself. It grabbed the kaiju and spun it around so they were facing each other. The kaiju glowered at Smelly. Smelly turned to me, opened its mouth, and let out the classic Godzilla screech. It was very satisfying to hear. Smelly then punched the kaiju in the face. It turned out the monster wasn't so tough. One punch and it fell back into the river. After a long pause, it became clear it was not coming out again.
That's what I'm talking about,
Smelly announced, fist pumping in the air, its voice carrying like a citywide loudspeaker.
Boom.
Apparently, that was the sound of the galaxy being saved.